So there's no new Adventurers Guild tonight. I'm on vacation. A lot of people are out doing things. It's the 4th of July. We will be back next week for a new episode, a brand new mission. It's going to be full of chaos and hilarity, and you're going to love it. But for now, I got a treat for you. What you're about to listen to is the first episode of The Guildhall, which is our behind-the-scenes podcast, which is exclusive to our Patreon. First episode's here. You can listen to all the other episodes over on our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/adventuresguildshow. All of the levels have access to this podcast, as well as other great perks. You're going to love it. So thanks so much. Be safe, be responsible. Happy 4th of July. You're listening to The Guildhall Podcast, a Happy Brain Games production, made exclusively for our Patreon subscribers.
Hey, I'm Lauren Panter.
And I'm Paul Koska.
And this is The Guildhall, a behind-the-scenes podcast for the Adventurers Guild. We'll be doing a deep dive into episodes to look at DM decisions, lore, and stuff you might have missed the first time you saw it. We're going to start with our previous missions, and obviously this whole podcast is going to be full of spoilers, so if you haven't seen the episodes, now is your chance.
Definitely. We're going to be going over a lot of details, and, you know, if you haven't seen the episode in a while, this is a good opportunity to do that. But you're going to feel very out of place if you're just like, I'm going to tune into this podcast and see what it's all about without having seen it. So I don't advise it. Before we get into looking at particular moments, we're going to start with a recap of what happened. So, to recap, the party is assigned to find the whereabouts of Elliston Weathers, a prominent business owner in Takar. He's the owner of EW Fishing Industries and has been missing for several days. They start by going to Elliston's office, where they speak with his son Edmund. Edmund seems to be holding some things back, but genuinely doesn't seem to know what happened to his father. From there, the party splits. Ariel and Mudpack try to talk to a fish about the kinds of fishing happening nearby. The fish knows nothing about that, but is definitely interested in chatting people up. Crickstump, Hason, and Zardon meanwhile go to Elliston's house, where they find most of the furniture missing and the place totally ransacked. They find Elliston's calendar, which shows he had 2 meetings on the day he went missing. A meeting with notorious crime boss Fyodor Dustev, and an entry that just says, SNS traveling 6 p.m. and an address. The party splits again, with Skamos and Mudpack checking out Dustev, Hason, Ariel, Zardon, and Lara checking out the second appointment, and Crickstump getting locked out while trying to sneak into Dustev's office. Dustev is incredibly dangerous, but makes a good case for having nothing to do with Elliston's disappearance. As it turns out, the real danger was at the Sun and Surf Travel Agency, and its quirky travel agent, Jonathan Bruce. A presentation about timeshares turns into a battle, and ends with an abduction. As it turns out, the Sun and Surf Travel Agency is a front for the Setting Sun, a mysterious criminal organization who abducted Elliston Weathers and apparently murdered him after stealing his possessions. Alara is abducted as well at the end of the battle, and a tense standoff ends with the party getting Alara back and letting Jonathan Bruce go, with the mystery of Elliston Weathers' disappearance apparently solved. So that's the recap.
What a mission.
I thought it was a good start.
I thought it was a good start too. It was fun to re-listen to it and remember everything that happened. A lot of which was us splitting up, which we always think that's a good idea, and it's very rarely a good idea, in my opinion.
I feel like that's really true of most D&D parties. Like, you just get into a town and you're like, great, see you later, and book it, and just never see the rest of your party again, because you're dead, because that's what happens when you split up.
Yeah, and I think we not always do it. We do it frequently, and I feel like usually at least one thing happens that we're like, that's why we shouldn't split the party. But then we keep doing it, so we obviously aren't learning from our mistakes. But you know what? That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, as the DM, there's definitely an impulse to, I don't know if punish is quite the right word, but it's not exactly the wrong word. To discourage that behavior.
Well, Well, and I have a actual question about that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like as a DM, you plan your encounters around the fact or the hope that the whole party will be together. And so if you split up, you may run into an encounter, which we kind of did in this mission, that you probably intended for all of us to be there to fight or handle, and then only half of you are, or two of you are, and that definitely can screw you over.
Yeah. In general, if that happens, if the party splits and then there's a combat encounter, I will usually adjust that encounter accordingly.
Okay.
I don't just sit there rigid and go, well, there was supposed to be 8 of you, so the 5 of you get fucked. I'll just reduce the number of whoever is supposed to be there, and it's not a huge deal. But there are times where I know in our other campaigns, it's happened this way, where there are times where it's like, you should have brought more people to this. And this is, you are in deep shit because you are outnumbered. Like, maybe you went to bed with a serial killer and now your throat's cut because you didn't bring any backup or tell anybody where you were going. And
what a specific example.
Yeah.
That's really, you just pulled that out of nowhere.
Just random, But that's like, sometimes it's like, well, I can't really protect you from this because this is what's happening story-wise. If it's not super story-based, like, you basically encountered a group of bandits. Essentially,
you can like change the number
of
bandits.
Yeah, and that is very, very easy.
Starting at the beginning of this mission, and just the chaos of us going into EW, the fishing office. It's funny how much you forget, but just that was such a mess, and just like, I couldn't convince the lady to talk to us. She was ornery as heck. And then the fish on the desk, and then Mudpack trying to sneak away, and Crickstump like trying to push the door open. And just, why is all of our encounters like this? It's like, we can't ever like work together essentially. And
what's great is that so often you all split the party, except for when you're wanting to do like a social encounter in a small room. And in that case, it's got to be all 8 of us going in all at once.
Everyone has to be involved.
We can't possibly just leave.
One person do it.
Yeah, we can't just have 3 people go in to talk to the receptionist. No, all 8 of us have to go into this tiny office and march up there.
Because that was all of us.
Oh, yeah. Everybody was there.
No wonder. Yeah, that's just a stressful customer service situation. You have a party of 8 just waltz into your business. So I give that woman more sympathy than I did originally.
Like, especially for a business where like it's not customer facing. They don't get a bunch of like walk-in people, and all of a sudden here's a group of 8 heavily armed people walking through the door. Nobody's receptive to that.
And that's something I forgot too. Well, I didn't even check before I went in, which was the fact that it's not like a customer. What did you say?
Customer facing
business. And so Hasan just like walks into any business like it is that. And so I should probably think about it more like next time.
I feel like 8 armed people walking into a Subway would be met just as coldly.
Yeah, okay, I agree. That's a good analogy. Yeah.
But honestly, it makes it better when the party doesn't learn that, because it creates these ridiculous moments.
It really does. Yeah. And I think what gets me is like, sure, all 8 of us went in, but it's like if someone does the talking and it doesn't work, then someone else just jumps in and like tries something else, and it just stacks, which I feel like makes the situation worse. Which was like me talking, and then it's like the fish, and then it's Mudpack trying to sneak, and then it's Crickstump just walking into the back room like he owns the place, and it was so funny.
Yeah, it just so chaotic. It gets bad so fast. But, as a DM, there are two ways you can go about that. If you want to be a prick about it, then you punish the party really badly for screwing up this social encounter. But if you do that, you also make your own job way harder because it's like, this is the main plot. So if you shut the party out right now because they messed up, then you have to be the one to manufacture a new way to get them on the plot. As opposed to just light reprimands and, okay, let's get on with the story now. Here's the hook.
Which I don't actually remember how we ended up talking to Elliston's son. Because that was at that
Yeah,
place.
he walks through the door.
And says what's going on.
Yeah, I believe...
As you do.
I believe
chaos in your
Crickstump
lobby.
opened the door onto him, I think is what happened.
Yes, exactly.
And just crashed it into him. So, and that was me just going like, okay, this has been fun.
This is enough.
Here's the main plot coming in. We've had enough time of this.
But I think once we got in there and started talking to him, I thought that went fine. And our persuasion checks were relatively good. We got the info that we needed. The chaos died down.
Yeah.
And that
Well,
was good.
I mean, it helped that particular person was aware that this whole investigation was happening.
Although he did reprimand us for not keeping on the down low, which we were specifically asked to do.
They were like, please don't make a big scene, and then the fucking carnival comes through.
Yeah. Well, I would expect nothing less
Yeah.
of us. So, yeah. And then I think it's interesting how you didn't just have one animal conversation in this mission. You had two because we had the fish at the docks.
Oh, that's
and then
right.
you were like the mouse at Elliston's house.
Yeah, that's right, the mouse.
And we all know Paul doesn't like animal voices. So that was, I'm sure, just delightful for you.
I mean,
And neither of those animal encounters were helpful either. Like, they didn't give us anything.
Well,
they were just there.
It is my belief that animals are rarely helpful. I cannot buy the idea that animals are going to give you all this useful information because they don't give a shit. They're just like...
Well, what are the chances that they're, like, actually paying attention to what the humans do? Like, what's going on outside their little animal world? Like, find food and be safe.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to be spying on us. So I agree with that.
If someone came to me and was like, what is your neighbor up to? I wouldn't fucking know. And I'm a human and they're a human. So, like, a mouse living in a cupboard is not going to know what's happened in the house. They don't care. They care about, like, is there food? Are there crumbs to eat? Is my bed warm? That's it. Like, so...
Yeah, basic survival.
Yeah.
instincts.
Yeah. So I used to just really like, I used to dread animal speech, but now I just use it as a kind of a fun, entertaining side thing. 'Cause it's almost never going to be useful. I usually roll like a history check for them to see if they happen to know something. And usually, of course, their history, whatever that would be, is like negative.
Modifiers,
Yeah, their
really
modifiers terrible for that. But you never know. Sometimes they might, there's always a nat 20 possible in there. But no, most of the time the animal knows nothing. And it's just fun to do a silly voice and to make everybody
people
feel
laugh,
bad
think
and
it's
awkward.
I think Mudpack definitely felt that way with the one-eyed fish at the dock.
That fish is probably one of the favorite characters that I've done. Period. I really like that fish.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. See, that's taken real strides to get you not as begrudging about animals.
Yeah. No, I like that fish a lot, and I was really glad that came up in the first episode because I think that really set the tone for the kind of show that we have, where it's like, there was some serious stuff, there's, drama, but there's also just this absolute fuckery of the one-eyed fish. And so I felt like it represented what the rest of the show was going to be right up front.
Because I feel like we always have a moment like that in every mission, almost every episode, just something so goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we get into a lot of heavy stuff, but there's always some absurdity somewhere in there. So I feel like if you watch that first episode and you like that episode, you're going to like the rest of it. And if you don't like that episode, then it's probably not for you.
I agree. So then, with your thoughts on animals and how they're not very perceptive, how do you feel about the spell Speak with Animals? Is that like not really as helpful as a spell as people might want it to be?
Oh, I think it's just almost useless.
What about Speak with Plants? Same thing?
Speak with Plants, I would say, is about the most useless spell in the book.
Because I feel like if animals don't know anything, plants would know even less.
Plants don't have eyes. Plants don't...
It's like turning a non-sentient thing into a sentient thing.
Yeah, it'd be like Speak with Chairs. What,
Exactly.
What do you want? What do you want from this hibiscus? Like, what is it supposed to tell you?
It opens up like a whole world of like every inanimate object could potentially be watching you and like know things.
I mean, yes, plants are alive. Plants don't know shit. Plants don't know anything. Plants know like the weather and like, because they're not like mystical beings. You're not talking, because if you were talking to like a magic tree, sure, that's one thing. And that magic tree, if you did speak with plants on it, might know some stuff. But a wild onion growing in the dirt, it's not gonna know anything. Don't ask it questions.
In another campaign, one of the players has it and has used it a lot. Because we were in the jungle, but I don't ever remember us getting any good information out of it.
My favorite is that Firbolgs have like plant speech, so they can speak to plants, but they can't hear anything back. Which is the point
of that?
It's even more.
You just want to say hi to the rose bush, and that's it.
Yeah, I feel like it's very like it's just kind of flavor. It's thematic stuff, but it's just like that's. I think they have like speak to like small beasts too or something like that, but like they can't hear anything back. They're just literally just like, hey, nice.
Can they
nice
like
bark.
get the plants to like nice bark? Can they get the like plants to do things? Like, would it be like a situation like, oh, I'm gonna tell these vines to like trip these bandits that might be.
But vines
through the
can't.
woods?
Vines can't because like what?
They'd have to be like magical,
right?
And could move.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're still talking about regular old vines, and they're not doing anything. They're not helping. They're not contributing to the cause.
I almost feel like it's a spell, or like those sorts of features were created just to like go with the druid vibe.
Yeah,
to give them something that feels like unique to their class, because there's spells unique to every class.
Yeah, and there are spells that are pretty much simply for roleplay and flavor, and that's totally okay. Like prestidigitation.
Yeah.
Nobody ever
I
needs that.
I've taken it every time I've been a spellcaster, and then I mean, like, very recently I messaged you and was like, can I please switch my spells? Because that was one I had and I've never used it. And I can never think of a reason.
It always feels like a decent idea, like, oh, I want to help people and like wipe mud off, and it's like, oh, I also have hands. No, that's
and like you can just go get them a towel.
Yeah,
like, I don't know.
Summon towel.
Yeah.
I do want to. I want to get into a lore thing that was just like barely scratched on in the episode, but not really explored because the check wasn't high enough. Before we move on to further in the episode or in the mission.
Yeah.
So in EW Fishing Industries, there was a number of different groups working on projects in there. And someone, and I don't remember who it was, noted that there was a group of engineers. It might have been, I don't know, I feel like it's Crickstump in my head. There were a group of engineers working on something like in the back. And if they'd rolled like a 21 or something, they could have seen something of what they were working on. And it was like, it was just an absolute red herring to make Edmund Elliston's son more suspicious, more like guarded about secrets.
Okay.
Because EW
Yeah.
Fishing Industries had this big like thing, this big piece of news that they did not want released. Besides Elliston's disappearance, they had this whole other project that they could not have leak.
Uh-huh.
And that actually ties in with why Elliston and Fyodor Dustev had interactions. So
Okay.
EW Fishing Industries was working on importing parts. They were working on importing parts to create airships for like long voyages. And
Okay. Like to other continents?
Yeah.
Kind of long voyages?
or just
Okay.
like across the oceans, to make things a lot faster.
Yeah.
And airships are not legal on the continent of Volanta. So
What? They're not?
they're not. And I can't, because of stuff that's still active, I can't go into why that is.
You're killing me!
I know.
Oh, because you know why I'm thinking this.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, airships are not legal on the continent. So EW Fishing Industries, Elliston was working with Fyodor Dustev to get those parts imported from
Wow.
elsewhere. So they were constructing a whole new like fishing vessel that was using they were basically the plan was to make like hoverboats.
Okay.
So not like full on airships way up in the air, but like just above the surface of the water to go way faster and
Wow.
more efficient fishing was the plan.
Wow. The amount of detail that goes into thinking up something like that connects to everything. Very inspiring.
See, patrons, this is why the podcast. This is why. So you
Paul
can
has great lore. This whole world is great, guys. I hope you get all these little tidbits. You write them down and put it together like it's a puzzle. You'll figure out all the secrets of this world. So exciting.
Yeah. So there was that big secret that they could not have revealed. So that's why there was all this shrouded, mysterious stuff going on, because they were doing something super illegal.
Is that why they were so quiet? Like, they don't want like someone coming in and discovering that kind of thing?
Yeah, like they were very, they
Because it was like a very quiet workplace.
yes, it was very serious,
we
very
went into
quiet.
the warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was basically just the engineers. That's kind of like
Okay.
who was in that space, is the people
Yeah.
working on that project.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it was Crickstump that made that check. I know it wasn't Skamos because that was the time he was rolling like Nat 1 after Nat 1
Yeah.
and knew nothing, which I think was really frustrating for him because his backstory like could have allowed him to know something.
I know he had the
not when
smuggler
you roll
thing
Nat 1.
and just
Mhm.
really wanted to use it in that episode and just could not.
Yeah. Ugh, the dice. They can be so cruel.
What else do we have?
Yeah, going into episode 2 was where we officially split up and part of us went to the SNS travel agency or to the Crossroads. We didn't know that it was a travel agency yet. And then some people went to the Iron Pig. And what I loved about this particular split up was the people who went to the Crossroads and found the travel agency. I felt like we had lots of magic casters, so
Mhm.
not the like highest ACs and HP, and we're thinking like, oh, we're not gonna get into any scuffles, like there's gonna be no trouble, it's gonna be fine. And then yeah, you guys go to like scary bar with all the underground people and like, yeah, dangerous, you do that. And it ended up being the opposite situation where it was us ended up being in danger at the travel agency. And then I mean, I won't say that like those who went to the Iron Pig and met I'm gonna say his name wrong every time. What's Fyodor? Fyodor. You know why I mess it up? Because it sounds like that Russian author Fyodor.
Oh yeah,
I can't even say his name.
Dostoevsky.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
what I want.
That's true.
That's what I think of. Anyway, I won't say that they didn't possibly be in danger because he did pull a gun on them,
Yes.
and that is very scary. But they got out of it pretty easily.
Yeah.
While we, set things on fire, got kidnapped, all that good stuff, all that great stuff.
No, it is great that Hae-san became the most martial, like the most combat-oriented, physical fighter in that group with the actual fighting.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I loved that for me. That was great. That's exactly what I want for my character.
I will say, though, that this is a rare split that I don't think was a terrible idea. Especially because with the Iron Pig, you just couldn't have all 8 people do that. That was just it was gonna fail it immediately. Whatever was gonna try to be set up there, it wasn't gonna work. And he wasn't gonna, Feodor was not gonna let all 8 people walk into his office. It just wasn't gonna happen.
And I mean, it did save time too.
It did.
So it was okay.
Yeah, it was not a bad split.
Yeah.
It raised a lot of tension. It did mean that some people were kind of stuck not doing a whole lot for a bit. But, you split the party, it's gonna happen.
You have to be okay with whatever happens because you consciously are making the choice. You all agree on it. What happens, happens. You can't really... Yeah, you just kind of got to go with the flow.
Yeah, as a DM, I really try to not leave anybody out for too long. Like, I really make a point of like, okay, this person hasn't done a lot in a bit. Let me bring them back in. But when the party is split, sometimes you're just going to sit there for 20 or 30 minutes because we have to get through story beats. But all things considered, like I said, the split was not terrible. And I thought that the whole thing with the Iron Pig and Feodor, it was an interesting scenario to play through because the two of them almost got in some really deep shit with Feodor. He, like when he pulled the gun, it was not idly. That was a speech challenge. Yeah, but what that was a speech challenge that was either going to end with total success and they get to go, or he was going to shoot them.
And it ended in total success, thankfully. Yeah. That was really intense, and I think both B and Nico felt it that way. They played it really well. They handled it really well. I love when, especially with an NPC, when your reactions are very genuine and you actually are nervous, worried, scared, and you really have to think on your feet and tensions are high. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, I'm not sure they would have survived the encounter. At least both of them.
Oh my goodness.
Like,
that's so scary to think about.
Yeah, like I was looking back at Feodor's stats today, and he had an AC of 18.
Whew.
He had like 90 hit points and a gun and an axe.
We're like all level 3 at this point.
Yeah.
That would not have been good.
I don't think they both would have survived it. But they did because Skamos, basically if Skamos had told like one more lie, that would have been it. But he did not.
What, you don't think Crickstump locked outside could have done anything?
It's an interesting situation.
He was invisible, right? That's what happened. He turned invisible and like followed them and like tried to get through the door, but wasn't fast enough.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Some weird thing, and he had to. Oh, he used the like bathroom like excuse.
Yes.
Like, oh, I'm just like
looking for the bathroom, and then got kicked out.
So funny.
It would have put me in an interesting situation because I really don't want to be unfair. Like, I don't want to be like, well, you fucked up, now your character's dead. Like, but at the same time, I don't want to make it feel like I cheaped out on something just to protect it. Like, if you fuck with, one of the big crime bosses in the city, that fight's not going to go well.
Well, and I also think even though like this is an anthology and lots of short missions, and it can feel very, I don't know what the right word is. I don't want to say like lighthearted, but I think because it's like not a long ongoing campaign, sometimes you can like kind of forget that your character can like be in danger.
Mm-hmm.
And like you think, oh, I'll make it through 3 episodes. Like, yeah, no, there's nothing to worry about. And it's like, no, you can still get into deep shit and things can happen and you can die. So like, just be careful.
Yeah. And it is partly the nature of these short missions in that this is not a big ongoing campaign, that no one is safe. Not really. I do not go out of my way, and all my players know this, I don't go out of my way to kill players, kill characters, anything like that. But if it happens, it happens. And
if we're really, really, really dumb and make dumb choices, then it will happen.
If you go, and honestly, I think a successful battle, one that's really tense and feels good, probably results in someone going into death saves. If nobody is that critical, it's kind of a cakewalk then.
Yeah, I think like you always need to be in dire straits so that if there is a battle where you're all just like really getting good hits and no one does, get hurt and you just really wipe them out, that feels really satisfying because it's not happening very often.
Death saves are crucial. They really raise the stakes in a very meaningful way. But
I have yet to do them.
Yeah, that's true, huh?
I know. I want to, but also I don't want to.
No, you did it. I mean, not with Hasan, but in our other campaign.
I did it with Azumi.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Once. Just the once. That's true.
I got pretty good luck.
Do we want to talk about the events at the travel agency?
Oh, yeah. You mean where my wonderful history with trying to cast suggestions started and has yet to stop? Yeah, let's talk about that.
It was quite a moment. I will admit, as a DM,
every day I learn a little more.
It's a great moment to be able to turn something like that. I felt bad for you. I did not feel as bad for Hasan.
Don't worry about it.
And I knew it would make for a great moment watching it to just blow that up in your face immediately.
Like I said, I'm learning more about that spell every day. And one of these days, I'm going to cast it and it's going to go perfectly, exactly like I wanted. And you know what? It's going to feel so good because of how many times it's not worked.
Yes. Suggestion is like, it's like a genie's wish. Like, it's so specific. And if you misword it at all, your whole plan is ruined.
Yeah.
You have to be really, really particular with it. And then it has to succeed.
Yeah.
So it's one, it's very much not a heat of the moment kind of spell.
Yeah, I'm learning that. I need to really think on that one. And yeah, but it was funny and it got everyone laughing and it's good.
It's true. And that's, at the end of the day, being entertaining is
what we want.
Yeah, it's what we want. So creating entertaining moments is good.
My failures make for more entertaining moments.
Absolutely.
So that's why I can't feel too bad about it. Yeah, that whole kind of conversation with him also just didn't go, at least the way I thought it would go. And then him just, come back for my timeshare presentation. I don't know why we didn't think that was weird. We were just like, yeah, sure. If you'll help us out, we'll listen to your timeshare presentation. What the heck? Yeah, that was funny.
I made Jonathan to be as disarming as possible, to be someone that you were really not going to. I created one option of character that was very obviously dangerous in Feodor, and the other was meant to be very obviously not dangerous. And luckily for me, that worked. And him being Australian was part of that because he's got a charming accent and
he has a charming accent. He was a charming redhead. How do you not trust a redhead? I mean, come on. I don't know.
This is like a DM tip. I love busting out an Australian accent because it seems like with D&D, when we do accents, we're almost like locked into the British Isles. And I blame Tolkien for that completely. But it just seems to be how it is. Like, everybody is, everybody's British, and poor people are Cockney, and dwarves are Scottish. And it's like, yeah, I guess, but that's also really boring. Like, everybody's going to have those 4 accents.
Yeah.
Now, in saying that, DMs, if you are like me, that is a white guy, there are a whole host of accents that I'm going to say that are not for you, but Australian is great. Russian is one that I do quite a bit. Everybody's got at least a halfway, Russian accent. So,
have you done a Russian accent?
Most of my dwarves, Feodor was Russian.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't remember.
most of the dwarves are Russian.
Okay.
Just to give them, because I don't want to do just all these. Oh, here's another Scottish dwarf. Like I've heard in, for whatever reason, 100 different video games and whatever. They're all fucking Scottish. Yeah.
You gonna bust out a Canadian accent anytime soon?
I do them lightly here and there.
Yeah. Now I'm going to be like listening every time I meet an NPC and be like, which one is this?
I feel like I just did like a light Canadian accent for an NPC, and I can't remember who that was for, which group. But yeah, I'll do like
I don't blame you for not being able to keep track, considering how many NPCs and groups you have.
But yeah, I do like I'll do like a Minnesota accent or a Midwest or light Canadian. Yeah, there's a whole world of possibilities out there besides London.
Yeah,
there's so many. Like let's break out of that just a little bit.
Like, okay, Britain doesn't have a monopoly on fantasy.
No,
we can get outside that.
And I'll say that if you do the Australian accent, people remember that NPC really, really well, because it's an accent that just doesn't come up that often, and so people like attach to it. They automatically like that character and remember that character a lot because it's a great accent.
And Jonathan was that.
And Australian is not as hard as it seems. Like it feels foreign in your mouth to start, but it's really you just need an upward tilt, a little at the end of your sentences. You bring them up a little bit, and there are really good phrases to get you into it. Like the classic one is really cliche, but rise up lights. Razor blades is rise up lights. Yeah, get your rise up lights, and you got your shaving the legs and get an upward tilt at the end of your sentence, and then you're good to go.
Wow, I'm getting like accent tips right now. Maybe I'll do a character voice someday.
Yeah, I got a C in accents in college. I'll have you know.
You have? That's a thing in theater school you're graded on?
Yeah, I got
Whoa.
My teacher was a dick, but the textbook that I had to buy for it is really helpful.
Cool.
Yeah. The class, not so much, but the textbook was great.
Well, we can't move into combat before mentioning what happened before we got kidnapped, which was the Cupcake Castle and how wonderful that was for me. I just want to say thank you. That was a beautiful moment. I actually was intending to do something with it. I tried to get backstory out of Ariel. She did not want to share anything. That's okay. But I did. I always try to get people to talk about their characters, and very rarely do I succeed, but I did give it a shot.
I liked the Cupcake Castle a lot. It was in a moment.
I've really made you know that I'm gonna always check for food now. I feel like you're kind of like, you've got to know this by now, so you're probably like more prepared to like have some bakery ready in case Lauren rolls a nat 20 on food checks.
Well, and I think food is something that's a little overlooked sometimes.
Hey, we gotta eat, man.
Yeah, and I think that if you can have some good descriptions of food, it really helps bring some depth to the world. You know, if you can describe like really what is on the plate, that can really be great for your players to be like, oh, we're not just getting a meal, but here's some roast meat, and here's some root vegetables, and here's, and people know that instinctually. It's like when you read, Game of Thrones, that series, A Song of Ice and Fire, you know, and he went on for 80 pages about food. Everybody loved that. So it's, you know, don't incorporate much out of his work, but food is a good thing to incorporate. I think it's something that really brings the world alive.
So we're obviously going to get sponsored by like a cupcake bakery at some point.
You know, I'm just looking for that HelloFresh sponsorship is what I need.
You know, I do see their ads on YouTube a lot. They could come on.
Every podcast I listen to. I love listening to like really serious podcasts, and then they'll break for a fucking HelloFresh ad break, like. And then he had
mental image.
16 more victims in Albuquerque. And then a pause, then it goes, you know what I really need is that great southern southwest style burger on my plate. That's what I need. And it's like, you were just talking about people dying, and now we're talking about these tacos.
Hey, talking about people dying makes you really hungry.
I guess.
Gotta stay nourished while you're listening to true crime.
I listen to a lot of true crime, and fucking all of them, it's all HelloFresh and
that's so
hair coloring stuff. Which is especially funny for like the one podcast I listen to, which is Dudes, because they have the same sponsors. And so the hair coloring company also sponsors that show. And so that like their ad copy for like, oh yeah, I gotta color my hair, and it's like, don't sponsor these guys. Who fucking believes this? They're buying Just for Men at the grocery store. They're not getting a subscription hair color service.
Yeah, really. Sometimes it's really funny to listen to. You know, you have to do your ad or talk about your sponsor, and it's like, you really support, like, you really use that? I don't know. Not convinced.
Yeah, that being said, I will shill almost literally anything for sponsorships for the show.
Absolutely, yes. You love this podcast? Sponsor us. Thank you.
Anything. I don't.
We'll talk about hair color.
Yeah.
I dye my hair. It's great.
I will dye my hair. I don't give a shit. Like, it'd be great to be sponsored by people that like, oh, I really believe in that product. But at the end of the day, like, especially as we're starting, and you know, I don't care.
Look at us. We are also truthful and practical.
Yeah.
With you guys about this kind of stuff. We're letting you know that, you know.
Come on, petroleum industry. Come on, vapes. I don't know. Like.
I know. I'm trying to think of like other ads I've seen. What, I don't know. You know, insurance agencies. I don't know.
I worked for an insurance agency for years.
Oh, that doesn't sound fun.
It was absolutely soul crushing.
Oof.
Yeah. Like.
Yeah. I believe that.
It was incredible how terrible I felt. Not because of like the job itself, like in terms of dealing with insurance, actually wasn't as bad. Just, I'm not made for customer service. That's really what it is.
What, you don't like people or something?
If I
you don't like being nice to people who are not nice to you? What?
If I seem personable, it's just an act. That's all it is.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool. Good to know.
No, if I could just live in a cocoon, that's what I'd prefer. No, it's just, you know, people cursing me out on the phone, and I'm supposed to just like accept that. And it's like, oh, I can't do that. I can't just accept that.
I feel so bad.
All right, let's get back into, you want to talk about combat?
Yes. Let's talk about combat, yes. So after we get back to the travel agency, we listen to this timeshare presentation. I chose to fall asleep of my own free will.
You did.
But everyone else, that was so ironic. Very funny. But everyone else got put under a spell or something. I mean, what exactly was that? Can you tell us that? Can you tell me that? Like, what was that spell exactly?
It wasn't even a spell. It was just like sleep gas.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so like these people aren't magic users at all.
Not really. No, there was a guy on the other side of the wall emptying some gas through the vent.
Wow, classic.
Into the room.
I always think there's some sort of like magic involved, some really complex high level thing. It's just sleeping gas.
Yeah, I think.
Wow, good to know.
Alara was the only one I think who just properly failed the sleep gas. Because
Ariel never fell asleep, I don't
no, Ariel didn't fall asleep,
think.
and Zardon had done his familiar into the next room, and and Hason was asleep. So the only person that was awake and aware in that moment was Ariel, who then had a bag pulled over her face because she rolled like a 4 in perception or something.
She was
like that.
into it. She was like sold on the vacation.
She
was
was.
like, yeah, I'm buying this.
That was so sad.
Only once the bag was going over her head did she realize, oh, maybe this is not what I think it is.
So you all started off combat in like the most compromised position you could be.
Ariel was the first one to get out of.
Yeah, because every
bound or whatever.
Because as they were looking, it's like, oh, everybody else is asleep. We gotta bag up this one.
But then she like transported into her.
She did. That was
bottle.
the first time we see Ariel go into the bottle, into the lamp.
Yeah.
Be what your I Dream of Jeannie style.
Yes.
Which is cool, but she's very helpless there. Like she can't do anything inside the lamp. So I believe at one point, the guy she's fighting just like grabs the lamp and runs with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't recall who even initiated combat or like.
I believe Zardon
started.
was first on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I know I got out pretty quick.
And then Alara was pretty much just fucked from the beginning.
I felt so bad. She just could not. None of her rolls were enough, and just purely the dice screwed her over. That's all.
And that's one of those cases where it's like, I feel bad for the player because I know they don't have a lot to do, but on the other hand, it's like it's just that's the way it's going.
Nothing you can do.
Yeah. She's just stuck, and story-wise, this is what's happening, and I'm really sorry about it, but this is what's happening.
And who set the building on fire?
I believe that was also Zardon.
Yeah, so that was fun, because I come out of my box, and I'm pretty sure it's already the fire.
Yeah, the fire's already started by that point. It's just absolute chaos, and you were not prepared for them. They were not prepared for you. It was just two groups fighting one another that were just very ill-equipped to deal with the situation.
Yeah, they shouldn't. Golden rule: don't try to kidnap adventurers.
Yeah,
because they'll kick your ass.
Well, their MO for that operation was just to abduct everybody.
Yeah, it was just anybody, right?
Yeah, they just take people off the street.
But, what is the purpose of that?
So,
why?
Yeah, so let's talk a little about the setting sun. Okay, and again,
yes, please.
there are things I can say and things I can't, because they're still very active, and you all have barely learned anything about them. Which means,
because I remember at the end, just to jump for a second, because someone asked about it, like, do I recall anything? Because I like to do, I think it was Zardon, because he likes to read up on that kind of stuff. And you were like, nope, no one knows anything about them. They're very on the down low, and this was just kind of us just scratching the surface of that whole organization.
So, Takar is a city that has several criminal organizations that are kind of long-standing, and some do some legitimate work, like run businesses, as well as illegitimate work. So, working more like the mafia. Some are more totally underground, like the Thieves Guild, that kind of thing. But most of them have rules and standards, and more or less, keep out of each other's way or work together here and there. And then there's the Setting Sun, who seem to have no rules, no standards. They will do anything to anyone. And there is just there's no bottom of the barrel for them in terms of what they will do to make money. So in this case, it's like they take people, they take everything they own. Every last penny they can squeeze out of a person, they will do that.
So, at least, in the case of Elliston Weathers, yes, we saw his house. So they took all of that stuff?
Yeah, they took it all.
Robbed him?
Yeah.
But was there specifically anything about him that they were like targeting him on purpose, or was he just a helpless?
He he walked into the travel agency.
That's it. So they just literally just kidnap people to steal from them and then kill them? That's literally it?
Yeah.
What? What horrible true crime podcast did you listen to get that idea?
Well, this is a podcast exclusive. So the last time the Adventurers Guild ran into the setting sun, which was way back near the beginning of when I started doing these adventures, way before we were doing them live. Then they were importing a lot of really, really dangerous drugs that would like just straight up kill people sometimes.
Is that the same place that Fang got that one drug?
Yes, that is that.
Like,
yeah.
Addicted to it?
Yeah. So it's
like
it
comes full circle.
It's like super, super addictive, and there's a decent possibility of it just killing you instantly.
Whoa.
So they just have no regard for life. They are just totally comfortable. And in that encounter, they ended up fighting a flesh construct that was in one of their warehouses. So they're just they have no standards, no dignity, no nothing. Like you hear like honor among thieves. This is not that. They have none of that. And the interesting thing about that, storytelling wise, is that they can do anything. So there is no like, oh, that's too depraved for them. Nope, sure isn't.
Is there the possibility that we will have dealings with them again?
Oh, 100%.
In the future?
Yeah, 100%.
Yes. I like that. I like the idea of us like doing like other missions that obviously are in different cities and have to do with other things, but like once in a while you get little pieces of this organization that's underneath a lot of your dealings.
Yeah. And what I'll say is that the next time they come around, it will probably be worse.
Stop!
like it will probably be more brutal because that's a role that they can fill in this storytelling world, is doing really, really bad shit.
And people wonder why I don't want to bring a new character, a new level 3 baby character when I'm level 5. Soon, not soon to be 6. I have a long way to go.
Yeah.
But how okay, just a little derailment.
Yeah.
How do you work with that where not all of us are the same level? Like, and so say potentially I brought Azumi in, he's level 8. Are you going to let me, or almost level 8, are you going to let me keep him there? And how does that compare with people who are level 3? And how do you plan encounters? And like, what is that about?
Well, you tend to plan encounters for the average.
Okay.
Or you plan encounters for the highest, and you just make people deal.
Whoa. That's rough.
It is rough, but one of the cool things about the Adventurers Guild is that it can be rough, because when you are dealing with a long-term campaign, when you are balancing characters that are working together as a party for a year, you have to be sensitive to, okay, if they're going into death saves, this is a big moment, like this is really impactful, we need to, and a player character death is monumental. And the Adventurers Guild, it's a big deal. Not quite as big a deal as it would be if you're, in this huge campaign for years on end. Because it's like you're here for 4 episodes and you might be bringing someone else next week anyway. So
yeah,
they might die.
You have to be okay with letting them go. I'm not okay with that.
I know.
If you've learned anything about me, I really don't like that.
This isn't like the Suicide Squad. It's not like I'm just out to, kill a bunch of people. But I'm also like, some encounters are just going to be really, really hard. And
Now I just want to mess with everyone and just bring my super high level character to be like, oh, oops, sorry, guys, for this dragon we have to fight. But don't worry, I've got it. I got this.
I was talking about this.
Stand behind me.
I don't remember who I was talking about this with, but I would at some point love to let everybody know beforehand, give everybody proper warning, but to do just straight up a meat grinder. Like you're in this dungeon, and if any of you make it out, it'll be incredible. Have fun. And then just see what happens. Like maybe for a Halloween special or something. To just be like,
yes!
To be like, hey, bring a character that you're not going to mourn too much because they're almost surely going to die.
I would 100% make someone new because I'm way too attached to everyone I have right now. But that I love that idea because I've never had a character die.
Right.
And so even if it's someone you make just for that situation, I just kind of want to know what it's like.
Like that's not the kind of scenario I want to put regular characters in, but just for just for a one-off, just, hey, let's just fuck some shit up and make it horrible and, make a dungeon that is not intended for escape and see if you can possibly escape. I think that'd be a good time.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. Write that down. Remember that. Let's do that.
Yeah, I'll write that down.
Write that down. But I mean, going back to combat, we eventually all met up, and we did eventually have to go rescue our friend who was almost completely lost to us. Just
about
away in a box.
As a player, how did that ending feel to you, like fulfillment wise?
It was a hard moment because when Jonathan was like, oh, I'll give you your friend if you let me go, and it's just this super huge ultimatum essentially. I can't, as a player, imagine throwing another player's character under the bus and being like, sorry, no, I want information from him about what happened to Elliston. Sorry, goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I wanted, but everyone instantly was like, no, we want our friend back, which honestly actually is more of a Hasan choice. So I did, make the right choice, but we still got the info we needed. He gave us more than, he told us he was dead, essentially. I didn't like a bad guy getting away. I hated that. I absolutely did not like that. I don't know. I didn't think it was unsatisfying for me personally. I thought it was fine. Sometimes that's just how things go. Yeah. And you don't always really win. You don't always completely save the day.
I also, I felt like the ending of that was also, if someone watches that first mission the whole way through, that is a good indicator of my style and our style. And I feel like it fit well because that is how a lot of my stories end in their. It's kind of rare that I just totally neatly pack things up in a bow and there we go. Everything's all settled and no questions afterwards. So having a kind of, oh, now it's done. Oh, now I guess we go home now.
I don't think we've had a mission that has a nice, neat ending yet. So, you do that. No bows, no nice little wrapped presents in our missions. And that's okay.
It's just, it's, there are always lingering questions, it's, if you're dealing with a complex situation, you're rarely going to come out with an easy answer.
Well, and I think realistically too, if you start to investigate things like this, you can't wrap it up in 24 hours essentially, which was what this story timeline was, right? It was all in a day.
It was all in a day.
We can't obviously continue this story and follow it all the way through. So I think it makes sense that could be investigated further in the future. It may eventually wrap up. It's just not something you see. It's not something we're aware of or we just, discover while playing.
Yeah.
So there's always the behind the scenes of the actual story that could be wrapped up. We just don't do it ourselves.
Yeah, it's not Law and Order where at the end of the episode you get the, you see who goes to jail and you get the little card at the end. They served 18 months and then died or whatever. It's more unsettled than that. And you as an audience really only get what the characters get, which is often not total satisfaction. It is just, okay, that's the end of the story, now we go home.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and with a giant crime organization too, that's not going to wrap up in one mission, you know,
No.
especially when you're like, you realize it's part of a bigger thing. Like you have to be okay with your little piece of it.
Yeah. Like you solved this particular question, but that does nothing for the larger question. It just asks other questions that are also not answered.
And as unsatisfying as it might feel to know that other people are in danger, there's more to it than that. Our job was done.
Yeah, you only got paid so much just for that particular thing.
30 gold, probably. I don't know.
Which I think some of the players, you know, talk about that not being a lot. 30 gold is a lot. 30 gold
it's
is
a lot. Do you know, Paul?
That is a month's
I don't
wages.
spend money on anything in game as Hason. Like once in a blue moon, I'll spend like 5 silver. I have like 217 gold.
Yeah.
That I'm just like sitting on. I have no idea when I'm going to use that. So when I get 30 more, I'm like, I'll never spend this money. What am I going to buy? A weapon? No. I own every instrument known to man. Like, I'm not going to buy anything else.
In the books, if you're looking at like what is, you know, how much does it cost to like live comfortably? It's 2 gold a day. To like have a really nice room and board. Yeah. So like 30 gold that you make like in a day or a week. And
that's on top of our room and board at the guild.
Right.
Like we're not paying for that out of our 30 gold that we make. So who said that? I want to call them out.
They just want health potions, which are really expensive.
Yeah, that shocked me. It was a different mission, but when we bought health potions, and I was like, I want 2, and you were like, oh, that's, I don't know however much 2 is.
I usually just
gold?
charge 30 for them, which is like they're in the book they're 50.
Ooh, that's so much.
It's
that's for a common heal.
For a common healing potion. Wow. It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, 30. I like 30. Although buying 2 and spending 60, right. I didn't want to do that.
If you can buy a sword for like 3 gold, paying 50 gold
Wait,
for
really?
Something like that. Yeah, they're really cheap.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, what is it? Oh, it's like the book doesn't want you to like not die.
I think what it really is that all magical items are really fucking expensive and potions are magical items.
Like that bag of holding I had to buy.
Yeah. But like
that was really expensive.
But if you want something enchanted, the book prices on that are fucking nuts. It's like $10,000. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It depends. If they're common items, no, I'll just generally go with what's in the book. But if it's something, obviously if it's homebrewed, I'm just making it up. But yeah, if it's something that just feels like way out of whack, like healing potions, then yeah, I'll lower those prices. Because I think 30 is still expensive without just being ridiculous. So this is a really good time to tell you that if you have questions, you want to know something particular about the world or something you just saw in an episode, ask us. This is a perfect opportunity to do that. Just put it on one of the posts on the Patreon. We're going to have a discussion post for that every week. And you can just leave your question there, and we will answer some of those questions here on the podcast. So get at us, because we are happy to answer that.
There's nothing too personal. Just ask us make it about the show. But
there are some things that are too personal.
Ask us anything about the show. We will most likely have some sort of answer. Will it be satisfying? Can't guarantee, but we will do our best to answer it.
But don't actually be personal. Lauren will answer nothing about her personal life.
No, I will not. Absolutely not. Do not try to get to know me. Do not perceive me outside of D&D. Thank you.
Lauren refuses the parasocial relationship, which is really ironic for a K-pop stan.
Very ironic.
Like, you can have your BTS shrine in your living room, but don't get to know Lauren.
Hey, my shrines are very small in the outside of my house.
Does it now include they just did the McDonald's meal, right?
Oh, yes, they did. And it's so lame. Like, I don't understand I don't even know. I don't know. Especially in America. So, like, in other countries, I guess they, like, you'll get a photo card and it has cool packaging and, like, it's, like, a whole thing. But here,
It's just a paper bag.
there's nothing. There's nothing. You don't get anything. It's just literally called the BTS meal. Ridiculous.
But there's, like,
So
special
hilarious.
sauces that came out with that. And there are people... I saw somebody on TikTok...
I'm so amazed that you know this at all.
Yeah, I blame you, but I saw somebody on TikTok wash out the sauce box.
No way.
Yeah, they washed it, they cleaned it, and then resealed it to put on their living room BTS shrine.
Wow.
Yeah, that's fucking lame. Don't do that. Don't do that. If you're listening to this and you've done that, throw it away. Throw it away. That is...
It's just a sauce box.
It's trash.
Don't worry. BTS did not actually touch it or anything.
That's the thing. Memorabilia, I get. Like, if it's something like they've signed or touched or a photograph of them, I get that. I have some memorabilia. Totally understandable. That's a fucking sauce packet. That is the equivalent of horsey sauce from Arby's. It's not any better than that. And if you're not going to put horsey sauce on your mantle, and I would argue that horsey sauce is a superior sauce to pretty much anything. If you're not going to do it for horsey sauce, don't do it for anything else.
I've never had horsey sauce.
Well, it's horseradish sauce.
Oh, is it? Is it just horseradish?
Do you like
Okay.
horseradish?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's at Arby's? Yeah.
At Arby's.
See, I don't eat at Arby's.
Yeah, don't eat at
Oh,
Arby's, but the horsey sauce. Their food is terrible, but the sauces are good. Arby's, please sponsor us.
Actually, this is the second time we've mentioned Arby's. Come on, Arby's. We obviously mean it.
Yeah.
We've mentioned you twice
This
now.
is a sincere plea for a relationship.
I'm actually pretty sure you mentioned... No, Arby's was in the next mission. I was like, what?
Yeah, I don't
episode
think it
did
was in
you
this one. I think it
actually-
was the next
It
one.
wasn't the
Because I don't
next
think I
thing.
started that joke until a couple episodes in.
Oh, I'm pretty sure you started that joke right away.
I don't think it was in the first episode. I looked...
Okay, maybe not the first one.
Yeah. Because I
But
looked
this
back on
bit
the
has been
script and it
going
wasn't in
for
there.
a long time.
I feel like I'm in too far to go back now.
It's never too late to stop.
Well, I'm kind of leading up to the announcement of the Patreon, is what it really is.
Okay.
And-
You're like, okay, since we can't get sponsors.
Since tonight is the night, and then announce the Patreon, and then I'll go back to pleading for sponsors.
Well, and actually, by the time they hear this, the Patreon will be live.
It's true. So this
thank
is
you
in the
for joining our
past.
Patreon.
You're in the future. You're listening.
Oh.
You already joined the Patreon, and you know what? This is a good segue to start to wrap things up. Lauren, what have you done that is not about D&D this week?
What have I... Oh. Do you know how difficult asking me that question is?
I know.
That's okay. I thought about it. And I have been watching a show called Black Sails. Have you heard of it?
Oh, I have heard of it. Yeah, that's
Yes.
Vikings? Pirates?
Pirates, and I've been in a big pirate mood the last month and a half. So as you know, I often watch things that are not in English.
Yes.
I have to read subtitles, and I can't do other things while I'm reading subtitles. So when I watch anime or Korean dramas, I have to be 100% focused because I have to actually pay attention.
It's one of the
to what I'm
reasons I
doing.
don't do those.
I get that. So I wanted to watch something that I could just put on and do other things
Mhm.
while I'm watching it. And so I picked this up, and it's really good. And as usually goes when I say that I'm going to start something and not watch it because I'm going to be doing other stuff.
Right.
I'm now just watching it and not doing other things because I'm invested. But yeah, Pirates, it's pretty good. I'm only 4 episodes in.
What is it?
but-
Stars or what
It is.
Stars?
Yeah, but I watch it it's on Hulu.
Oh, is
and
it?
I don't know if Stars is an add-on you have to have. I'm not really sure.
I
I don't pay
don't
for
know.
my Hulu, so I don't know.
Hulu, please sponsor us. We'll pay for it then.
Hulu sponsor us.
No, I get mine through the Disney bundle thing because I have a toddler, and so
Okay.
it's all Disney stuff.
Disney Plus. How is Disney Plus? Is it worth it?
I
Is it
mean,
good?
all I've seen of Disney Plus is Frozen, Frozen 2, Tangled, the animated series. So Disney Plus seems great, I guess.
Hey, Ellie has good taste.
She
Frozen and Tangled.
Yeah, she loves those movies a lot. We haven't pushed her into the princess thing, but she does love princesses. She's super into it.
Yeah.
This is a good part. If you're listening to this and you have not seen Frozen 2, this is my official recommendation. If you like D&D, you have to fucking watch Frozen 2.
Frozen 2 is so good. Better than the first one. It's incredible.
It's like it's a legit D&D campaign.
Yeah.
It's brutal and dark and really sad, and I would say it's one of the better sequels of anything. Like, it's just
because usually it always gets worse.
Yeah, especially
The
for
more
Disney.
movies they
Frankly,
make.
Disney sequels
Yeah.
tend to be terrible. This is a fucking phenomenal sequel, and this is a recommendation. Of course, it's years out of date, but now everybody has streaming services, so it's all relative in that way.
It's never too late to watch Frozen 2.
All right, so I have been this week. I was going to do something like fun and non-complainy, and then I've spent the last couple days installing a light fixture, and I do want to preface this by saying I'm really grateful to have that we own a home. It's really awesome. I'm so glad to have it. This is kind of an old home, so it was built in like the early 70s. And the people who owned it for a long time, the guy who did all the DIY stuff, I'm sure was a very nice guy. He was absolute shit at DIY work because everything he's touched is terrible.
Oh, no.
Is absolutely awful. So every time we go to fix something, it's one of two things. It's either dealing with something that was original to the house, in 1972, or something that he jerry-rigged and just said it was good enough and has been sitting there for 30 years untouched. And so every DIY thing that we do to this house takes 5 times as long as it should.
Because you have to like undo what
Yes.
he screwed up.
Yes. And this was from day one. So we knew going in that the dishwasher needed replaced. So we did that like really early. We got back there, and his wiring for the dishwasher was so fucked. Like, the fact that it didn't start a fire at some point was amazing. So we had to like totally rewire that just to put a new dishwasher in. So I'm putting a new porch light in. The junction box, like the thing that houses all the wires in there that you have to connect to, I'm quite certain is the original one from 1972, and so it just doesn't fit modern porch lights. Like, they just don't fit. It's too small. I can't just replace the porch light. I have to then go buy a new junction box and cut into the house siding to install this new junction box so that I can then install the porch light. So it's like give a mouse a fucking cookie for every single job in this house. But again, I'm really grateful to have it. So that's what I've been doing this week.
But still, when you want to just fix something and you just want it to be easy and it turns into a whole thing.
Yeah, just every little thing has to be a whole production in the house, just getting anything done. But it's nice not to rent.
Is it done?
No, it's not. I still have to go buy the junction box. It's because
I tried to guess what you were gonna say. And I was
no,
wrong.
like I got it. It's up. It's wired. It works. It's jerry rigged in because I have to go buy a new junction box, cut through the siding to install it. So it's like I did the work. Now I have to undo it to do it again.
Oh my god.
Because so I have to actually uninstall that light, do the box, and then reinstall the light.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing.
It reminds me of the time, like when you're saying like, because the house is older and so it doesn't work with like modern parts. I bought these lamps at IKEA once, which apparently you have to get the light bulbs at IKEA.
You
because
do.
I couldn't find them anywhere. I don't live by an IKEA. And I don't know if anyone's tried to order anything online from IKEA, but the shipping is astronomical.
Yeah.
Like, it's just meant to be you go in and get it. So anyway, don't buy your lamps at IKEA unless you buy the light bulbs there. I just ended up selling them because I never got the light bulbs.
Yeah, they should. They should when you go to IKEA.com, it should just say no.
It should.
It'll
Also,
just...
their website's like not user friendly. I think they're very much like, don't shop online. Just don't do it.
It should just
Come to the
forward you
store.
straight to like the Google Maps for your closest IKEA and just not even bother with the website.
Yes.
All right, before we get too far in the weeds, I think now is a good time to wrap it up. And this has been our first episode of the Guildhall. We did it.
We did it! It was so fun, and we're so thankful to everyone who watches the show and who is a patron and listened to this podcast. We hope you enjoyed it and that you'll stick with us because we have so many fun things to discuss.
And this one was kind of long because we're discussing a whole mission. Realistically, when we get into discussing single episodes, they're not going to be quite this long. But you got to talk about a lot of stuff when you talk about a full mission. But if you are listening right now, we already love you, and we're not going to pitch you anything because you are already here. You are our patrons. You are supporting us and supporting this show. And we just want to say thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.